What's going to follow after I finish talking is some objective science about how fracking works. I'm avoiding including anything in here that I feel like comes from this film as overly biased or not in the interest of objective science. But in this case, the sequence of images that you're about to see are reliable and accurate.
The method of gas drilling they use is called hydraulic fracturing, or fracking. It blasts a mix of water and chemicals 8,000 feet into the ground. The fracking itself is like a mini earthquake. The intense pressure breaks apart the rock and frees up the gas. In order to frack, you need some fracking fluid, a mix of over 596 chemicals. From the unpronounceable, to the unknown, to the too well-known. The brew is full of corrosion inhibitors, gelants, drilling additives, biocides, shale control inhibitors, liquid breaker aids, viscosifiers, liquid gel concentrates. On the side of that frac fluid truck, it should say, just add water. Each time they drill a well, they need between 1 and 7 million gallons of water. Each time they go back and frack an existing well, they need an additional 1 to 7 million gallons of water. They can frack a well up to 18 times in its life. They started out west, New Mexico, Colorado, Texas, Wyoming, Oklahoma, and in the south, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama. 450,000 wells, times 18, times 1 to 7 million gallons, is something like 40 trillion gallons of water, all of it infused with the 596 chemicals in the fracking fluid.
I stopped it here because I'm glad that this film mentioned the 596 chemicals. The reason I'm glad about that is that some of the fracking companies and other sub-vendors that vend to the fracking companies don't want to discuss the proportions and details about those 596 chemicals because they assert that to do so would be a violation of their rights to preserve them as trade secrets. That is not true. And that shows that they do not understand trade secret doctrine. But unlike what I said earlier in my preparation, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily trying to conceal criminal activity. One of the problems with natural gas fracking, and a little bit of the problem with this film, is some speculation is involved as to why it is they wouldn't want to tell people about what's in those chemicals. See, here's a problem. It's a key principle in the law known as proximate cause, Proximate-Cause. Those chemicals could be introduced into somebody's water supply for a lot of reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with fracking. And we're going to see incidences of people who can light their tap water on fire. A big response to this film by people who are very upset about the contents and asserted that it was misleading is that they know of people during certain times of the year that they've been able to do that since as long as they can remember, and their parents before them could do it. There is some methane present in certain people's wells and pipelines, no matter what they do, and it had absolutely nothing to do with fracking. Okay, if that's true, I understand. It could well be true. Although in this film, I think the people in general pretty carefully stipulate that they did not have this problem before the fracking companies moved in, and the problems started happening soon afterwards. But you know what would have made a really objective, highly admissible in court, and much more objective evidence would have been if they had gone to tapscore.com and tested their tap water for the various chemicals discussed in the 596 known admitted chemicals that are used in the fracking process. And if the components of those were leaching into their bloodstream, and they had blood tests that could show it, and could show that it began after the installation of the fracking equipment, it would have been a boon as far as they're making a case that their illnesses, problems, diseases, and other things that we're going to see in this film were proximately caused by the entry of the fracking equipment onto their property. But because they didn't ever establish effectively a proximate cause, a proximal relationship between the fracking and their health problems, none of us really know why, whether there's a link or not. Again, reaching into my bag of tricks from the standpoint of objective science, everyone should get testing and do this testing often and get an established paper trail of tendencies in your water and in your bloodstream. And if an important and abrupt and unpleasant change occurs, and you can find a place in time where there may be a relationship between some external event and the change to your health and your water and your bloodstream, that is critical for establishment of proximate cause. That the causes of the problems in your water or in your bloodstream could not have been for any other reason other than X. That's a hard legal threshold to reach. And the reason they had to sign these confidentiality agreements that we're going to hear about in this film is because it wasn't clear whether their health problems were attributable to the fracking or not. In some cases, there appears to be a pretty darn good close link. But Josh Fox is not an attorney. He did not make this film for the purpose of supporting a mass tort, class action type of legally admissible evidence. He got brought into this film entirely by accident. And because there's some holes in whether or not proximate cause exists, it left him and left the film vulnerable to attack. And I admit that. And I'm trying to show you folks in the future, and the folks out there that identify with the problems in Flint, Michigan, and with Erin Brockovich, and other incidences like that, groundwater contamination problems, what I'm trying to show you is what you need to do to not end up being a subject in a film like this, where something bad happened, something bad went wrong, but nobody will help you, nobody will knows what to do, nobody knows how it happened, and nobody will take responsibility. Part of my goal here in these YouTube videos is to get people to understand this is preventable. We've got tapscore.com. We've got requestatest.com. They're affordable by almost anybody. Even people at low income levels can afford to get their water tested independently and objectively, and they can afford to get their blood tested independently and objectively to the extent that the tests are admissible in court if necessary. We hope it doesn't come to that, but if it does, there's a solution. Thanks for watching. Let me know any other topics you want me to discuss. This YouTube channel is to help you. This is for information. I want to hear from you, and I want to know what things are on your mind.